Today is April 27th, Sunday, the year 2025, and it is approximately 4 p.m. What we do is talk about ghost stories and other supernatural phenomena. So, if you'd love to share your story, please call in at area code 540-487-9307. Probably a little after 4 p.m. every Sunday Eastern Central Time because we are in Virginia. Also, I've had many people just message me, send videos in, and tell their stories via email, which some have been pretty cool. So if you would like to do that, feel more comfortable with that, my email address is jjallen1967 at gmail.com. So, with all that pre-announcement done here, just like to welcome a guest that's come in today, and I love guests that come in. Her name is Ann.
Schlitz, coming at you. When you order a Schlitz, you don't think about the months it takes us to brew and age it. But the long, careful, golden age of Schlitz is what makes it America's choicest premium beer. No, but...
When you're out of Schlitz, you're disaster. You're out of beer.
And Ann has indicated that she has had some pretty cool stories across the board of her life. So, as you guys that have listened to me over the last month or so, you know that I personally have had a lot of different types of encounters, starting from my childhood on up, and I am 57 years currently, and I still have strange things happen to me. So, and it happens to a lot of people out here in the world, and that's kind of like why I started this podcast, because I've had a lot of people, PM me, message me, and tell me that they've had some interesting encounters over their lifetimes or lives in various places they have lived. But with Ann here, I guess I'm just going to ask you, and I'll just ask you a few key questions, make it simple.
Sure.
So, what is probably one of the first experiences you've had that was odd or strange that you encountered?
It made me go, whoa. Yeah. It was actually my son.
Your son?
Mm-hmm. He came home from school one day, and I was laying on the couch trying to get a little shut-eye before he got home. And he walks in the door and he goes, "Mom, are you okay?" Yeah, I'm just laying down. Well, I had a bad feeling. Something, I didn't know if it was you or somebody else, but something happened. Well, about a week later, we found out his uncle had died, and it was exactly that moment. So that was kind of a, okay.
Right.
And it's happened several times with me, too. I'll get a funny feeling about somebody, and I call them, and something's happened.
So I remember, let's see, I've known you on and off for maybe, 2-3 years? Something like that,
Something like that.
Yeah, and done some work for you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what kind of piqued my interest about you a little bit as well is that probably the job we did, I don't know, the last time, that you, and this is the reason I remember things. I remember a lot of things. So you said you sort of felt the spirit or person that's here. Do you remember that?
No, but I quite often don't remember things like that.
Okay.
I have a tendency to just kind of blurt it out. But I've been in other people's homes, or and felt like there was somebody else there. So it's a little creepy, and I was always afraid to say anything because, well, you don't want people to think you're off your rocker, you know?
Yeah.
I've had a couple encounters, never seen anything per se, maybe just a feeling that somebody else was in a room. Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot. It's usually, I'll go into people's homes for work and find out that, okay, well, that room's kind of off limits. I'll feel that. And they'll tell me, yeah, well, so-and-so passed away in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're going to leave them at peace. Yeah.
Well, I'm currently seeing what I deem or call kind of a teacher or mentor right now, because I have experienced so many things in the course of my life that I'm like questioning kind of what brand of human I am, to be honest with you. I mean, it sounds a little obtuse or
No, it
a
doesn't,
little
not at all.
ridiculous, but it's not terrible, but it's enough of it to where I recognize that there's something a little bit different about me. So, what I currently live in an apartment, second floor, moved in, probably going on close to 4 years now, I think. And I remember the first day that I walked in, and this place is not overly fancy, but it's not, terrible.
It's
decent.
either, yeah.
It's decent little place. And I walked in, looked around for a minute or two. They were still doing a little bit of work, cleanup work and painting work and whatnot. And I remember walking down. There's a little hallway past the kitchen, and I kind of peeked my head into it's a smaller right-hand bedroom, and I instantly picked up on something happened in there that's not really overly pleasant, I think, or something. I just felt the energy that kind of still lived in that room. And it was negative, and it wasn't a pleasant feeling, okay? So I kind of just shut the door, and I instantly realized at that second that I'm never going to use that room other than just storage or whatnot. So then I looked to the left, which is a little bit of a larger bedroom, and I looked in there, and it felt fine. The living room felt fine. The kitchen felt fine. Bathroom's okay, blah, blah, blah. It's just a two-bedroom apartment. So... And the odd thing of it is that I knew I already had the apartment. Okay, I get these.
You knew it was yours.
Yeah. I get these incredible precognitive feelings about a lot of things in the world. And here, as of late, I'm never wrong, which is really kind of spooky because, I am a doubting Thomas about certain things. I am not everything that I experience in the world is supernatural. Not everything's a ghostly phenomenon. It's just because a cup or saucer fell off in the kitchen doesn't mean it's a spook that's living in there and knocking things around. But the other really odd thing, and here again, I am still in the transition of learning about what I am. It just sounds strange, but it's just the journey I'm in. Okay, and that's the reason I really do enjoy talking to folks like you. You've got a couple of years on me.
Yeah,
okay, couple. So, and you have experienced some life that I have not. And what I do, I hope it's a little bit better than the average bear, is I do take the time to listen. I try to listen to folks that have had more experience than myself because I do enjoy learning and whatnot. But this advisor that I'm going to, I explained to her, I said, listen, there's something really strange that I do every night, like clockwork, every night. So this is the story, is that I get ready to go to bed. I lay down, go preliminary, teeth, bathroom, cut the lights off, put my phone down, put a podcast on, get ready to go to sleep. and I'll lay there for 5 minutes, and I get this pull. I get a pull to get up, and I get up. I actually get up, and what it tells me to do is I go down the hall and I go into the kitchen, and I'm looking for something. I have no idea what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for something. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I open the refrigerator. I don't grab anything. I don't drink. I just have to go through that perfunctory little schedule, and then I turn around. I go back to the bedroom, and I lay down, and then I can go to sleep. This is every single night.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Have you ever done this before you moved into the apartment? Okay.
No.
This is new.
Yeah, this is new, but this has been going on concurrently for years now.
Have you ever Googled the address?
No, I don't want to.
Because you might find out something that happened.
Yeah. This is what her indication was.
Yes.
This is how crazy interdimensional realities are. If you want to go that way.
Oh, okay? It's absolutely.
So this
fact.
is her explanation as to what I am doing. She indicated that whomever had lived there before had a ritual to get up in the night, roughly 10:30, 11 o'clock, or whatever time it is, to go into the kitchen and perform some act of taking a drink, getting medicine, doing something. But I mean, it is every night, like clockwork. And I'm like, what? To where I was like, I'm questioning what my behaviors are. Okay, so, and then the other odd thing that happens on occasion is that I have and I'm pretty laid back. I'm a laid back guy. Yeah. Okay, I don't get shook up about a lot of things. But the other thing that has happened recently is that it's been within a month or so, is that I'll be laying down, trying to go to sleep, and this is exactly what it is. I got the upper cabinets in the kitchen, and I got Tupperware dishes up in the top. It sounds exactly like someone opened the top cabinet and pulled out every single piece of Tupperware or plastic bowl that I had, and it flips and falls and crashes to the floor. Okay, this happened the last time, and I heard it, and I was like so blasé about it. I was like, I almost didn't get up. Mm-hmm. Almost just did not get up because I'm like, psh. But I thought, well, did somebody try to sneak in? And I was like, nah. I mean, I'm really not that kind of guy that I get uptight about break-ins, which maybe I should, but I don't, okay? I got up, walked in the kitchen, and there's nary a thing. Nothing is out of place.
Right. And that's normal.
Yeah, well, why do you say this? I want to know your take on it. Why do you think it's normal?
Yeah, I hear stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And go out. I've seen lights come on in my house.
You mean actual physical?
The light comes on, and I get up and go to look, and yeah, the light's on, but I didn't turn it on. This is before you could talk to anybody and ask them to turn your lights on for you.
Oh, yeah.
And this was years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't one of those little touch lamps either. It would just come on.
Yeah. So what do you think, now do you think that, which I know I know that I have, is that I get what I call followers, people that follow me.
Yeah.
And where I go to visit this lady, mm-hmm. and I keep going back because I hate to say it, but and I'm a skeptic, but she's on. I mean, she has been not on every single point that she has said to me, but she is on enough to where, I don't think it's a con. It's easy to con somebody, but she actually, she's done a couple of things to me that was like, that I have physically and energetically felt. And I'm like, well, there's something here. Okay, so
There's a lot to it.
yeah, so and it's in an older. I think it was an abandoned church, but she's restoring it. And the only other thing that's kind of kooky is that when I do go to see her, we go down in the basement, and she's fixing the basement up. I kind of look to the left, and I have seen a woman. I mean, it's a ghost.
Sure.
But I see her walking past the doorway at least 3 times now. And she'll go, "Oh, don't worry, that's just Mary." I said, "Okay," that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's kind of, it kind of indicates to me that, here again, I'm on a personal journey to understand, to educate others about this phenomena, because I have known this exists since I was a child, small child. And evidently she indicated that I am seeing people that, yes, that are alive and yes, that are dead. But I can't tell the difference sometimes.
It's dimensional.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have theories, and I love science a lot. I do. I enjoy science very much. And my take on it, which I have explained in previous podcasts, and I actually explained it to her, is that, and maybe for the audience that's listening to this, maybe you can put your 2 cents or 3 cents or nickels worth in on this explanation that I have. Is that what I have come to discover is that we share the same space. Okay, so this office in here, the dimensional space of this office is existing, just as it existed a year ago, and 2 years ago, and 5 years ago, and 10 years ago. Just like hopefully it'll exist in the future, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, blah, blah, blah. Things will change in the office, we'll move things around, but the general structural dynamics of this office is existing, okay? So what I believe is that there are, if there's spirits, okay, that actually are, and there's one here, and 2 over there, I think, is that they're sharing the same dimensional, the space reality, but the dimensionality of the vibrational frequency that they exist in is different than this one.
It is.
But I also believe that because the dimensionality of their existence, the frequency, it's kind of like a radio station where if it's 10.2, and you can still hear it at 10.3 or 10. Still staticky on 4. And if you back it out, that's what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm able to see this ghost Mary in a frequency that's just a little bit different than this frequency. So I have a theory that, excuse me again, that certain people, I think it has to do with, I look at the brain as if the physicality of the brain is almost like a filter for reality, okay? So if you're changing the filtration system, okay, or the physical dynamics of how the brain perceives what it sees, what it smells, what it feels, what have you, okay? I think that different people have different antennas, or they have different absorption levels, or I'm trying to make an analogy for this. So, that kind of makes sense to most people as to, well, I don't see a ghost. People will go, I don't believe in that, or I don't see anything else like that.
Well, don't forget early childhood training, because most of us as children, we had playmates that might not have been there. We would see things and we would tell our parents, and they'd go, "Oh, no, you didn't. You couldn't have seen that.
Did you?
That's not real."
Do you remember?
I remember a lot of things, but it gets taken away. It's the because our ghosts aren't supposed to be real. This kind of interdimensional thing is not supposed to be real. So you couldn't possibly have seen somebody over there. They didn't exist. Now, I've seen a lot of things. I worked in hospice for many years.
And tell me about that.
Yeah. There was a little, all of our patients, for the first 2.5 years, 3 years I was there, would see a little boy. And they'd ask us, not just me, but the other people that worked there, did you see him? No, but maybe he's just coming to visit you. It's okay, because you don't want to disturb people in that state in the first place. And they would all describe him the same. And it didn't matter who it was or what room they were in. They would all describe the same little boy. So other people I worked with are going, yeah, okay. There was finally a woman who asked him, and she told us about it. She asked him who he was or why he was there. He said he was looking for his mommy. Mm-hmm. She said, well, come up here and you can sit on my lap and I'll give you a hug. Mm-hmm. We never saw him again.
Oh, really?
That's all he needed, yeah. So, in that state, I think our minds become more open. And so you can see things. It's amazing. So you have the ability to not have that cluttered mind. Because
I try very hard because I was 50 years old when I kind of just, it was almost right on the birth date. Because this uncanniness that being able to predict the future, within a day or so. To be able to predict things that are coming my way a bit. But the weirdness, the real strangeness was my uncanny ability to look into human beings. I can look into somebody and I know exactly who you are. And you do not have to tell me anything. And I know who you are. Therefore, I know how to deal with you because I'm a businessman, small business owner. Yes, I'm in sales. Yes, I'm working on other projects, and I'm looking to build this little entertainment venue up. This is not about making money. This is about exploring avenues of education and
sharing your
and
knowledge.
Sharing. Thank you. I'm trying to think. I had a little headache today. Sharing information so people can have a communion. I call it a communion of sorts. Now, and I will tell you the only biggest reason I started this up, okay? Because I don't personally need to, but I enjoy it very much. But I've talked about it on other previous podcasts, but I have been visited by something since I was a small child, okay? And these visitations, I still to this date, I'm not sure what they were or are. The average people go, oh yeah, you got abducted, okay? Or I'm not so sure about that. I'm not, here again, being the skeptic that I am, I don't remember seeing the flying saucer. I don't remember seeing spacemen, but I did have encounters throughout my entire childhood to as of about a year ago. It still happens. So talking to this advisor, this mentor that I'm looking at, I said, okay, and I have vague recollections of one individual teaching me something. Okay? I cannot pull it up and go, oh yeah, I was taught astrophysics about this and quantum theory about that, and understand. I cannot say that, but I asked my mentor, this teacher that I'm doing, I said, okay, that's great. Let's say all this did happen. I said, I can live with the truth. I can live with, yeah, you get visited, and yeah, that happened. I mean, I could live with it, but I would like to just confirm it and know it, but I cannot. So I still have that vague little tendency to think, well, your imagination is a little much, J.J. Allen. It's going a little too far, buddy. You're getting a little whacked out, okay? So here I am going public with this, okay? Unashamed, I can't speak the word, unashamedly.
That's good.
It's close. It's close enough, guys. It's all right. And I'm worrying about it. I don't care. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care because I'm telling them the truth.
That's it right there.
And
because other people, like other people care more about what things look like than what they really are.
Yeah, and just about everybody that I've talked to, they take it, it's fine. But I mean, but getting back to this point as to why I started this podcast, I asked her, because evidently she's got a lot more power than I've got, which is fine. And so she's talking to these invisible, whatever they are, advisors or whatever, and they said, well, you need to share this.
You absolutely do.
You need to share this with the public. So this occurred, on a whim, because I am more geared up to make videos and movies and writing, which I love dearly, okay? So all of this kind of fit hand in hand because I've already got the editing skills, I'm all that stuff, and I understand audio and blah, 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 all this crap that I've got sitting here in front of us. So, so I've put it out here into the world, and actually, it has gone out across the world,
But that's what it's about. That's why you have to do it.
Well, yeah.
It's important because there are too many people out there, a lot of people, from your responses, people are going, wow, well then this happened. And they may not have remembered it. And this is another thing that happens. People will quite often, because of how we've been programmed, okay, they will forget, or they'll think, oh, that was just a dream. But that's not it at all.
Yeah. And I talked to, last time I was there, I did talk to her about a situation that happened to me when I was a child. And it bothered me. It did. I have to admit it bothered me. Mm-hmm. Because my father at the time, this is real early 70s, okay? I mean, I know to you it's a little bit. But to me, that I was a small child in the early 70s, okay? You can laugh.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I mean, I feel, But anyway, let's call it 70, 71, 72, somewhere in there. Okay?
Okay.
I'm between 5 and 6 years old. But I remember, this was my reality, okay? Mm-hmm. That my dad was in the bottled water business for a while. And we would have to go to the coast of Virginia around Hampton, Newport News. We had a house down there as well, kind of a office house. So I remember kind of keeping it short and simple that we went to some studio somewhere where it was a photography studio of some sort, okay? I cannot tell you where it is. I have no addresses, no nothing. I'm a small child. I'm just in the car with Dad and the rest of the family, and we're going different places, and it is what it is. So I personally remember that the photographer looked at me, and I was a cute little boy at the time, of course. He said, I think he'd be perfect for a little a photography shoot. And my job was to hold a very small box like this. I still remember it. Just like this, look up at the camera, smile, boom, click, 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 click. I remember that happening. Mm-hmm. Okay? I can still see in my mind my own face, my own little jacket, the pair of shoes I wore, and and the pants that had the crease in the front. I mean, I still freaking remember this shit, okay? So later in time, that went by. 2-3 years later, I kind of went to my grandmother because we all lived on the same property. And I said, hey, Grandma, I said, remember when we did that video shoot and that guy took a picture of me and he put my face on a pamphlet with a little box?
Mm-hmm.
She said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, what? I said, okay, all right. So I went over to my dad. Now, my dad was, always a busy, angry guy, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So, not all the time, but, most of the time. But anywho, I went over to Dad and I go, hey, Dad, do you remember the time we went somewhere and we went to the photography place? The guy said, hey, you would be a perfect little subject for holding this box for this promo for this pamphlet. And in my mind, I remember Dad getting, like a sample copies of what had happened, and he had them stuck in the file folder and in the file cabinets up the yang. And I said, I'd just like to see him. I mean, he says, son, that never happened. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I said to my mentor, my teacher, this new lady, I said, listen, I physically and mentally remember this happening. And I explained to her that I thought what had happened is that I had skipped timelines. That was a portion of my life that did happen, that did occur. And because I believe that I am manifesting and moving in different timelines now, okay? I have other things I could tell you about as well. But anyway, she said, that's not what I'm saying. And I said, okay. So I let her speak. And what she said, which bothered me, and this bothered me a lot. She said, what you did, and I'll see if I can paraphrase it the same way she said it. She said, what you did wherever you were, she said the spirit of that little boy attached itself to me because it knew that I could see the boy. And something tragic happened to the little boy. And it bothers me. The photographer killed the little boy.
Really?
And she said the little boy's name was George. And you know what? I have to admit, and I don't like admitting this, but it kind of makes me sick to think about it. But it kind of rang a bell. I don't know why. When she said George. Now, back in those days, George was a prominent male boy's name. Now it is not so much. She said what you did is because how did she put it? She said kind of like I placed myself in the little boy's position so I wouldn't have to see the horror of what happened to the little boy. And I created that as a memory to carry with me. Or maybe even a memory for the little boy to have. I mean, it is really strange. And that bothered me, and I'm being honest with you. It still kind of turns my stomach a little bit because I'm a father, and I believe that hurting children is the absolute worst.
Yes,
and old people, and I'm just saying it is a freaking horror show of things that I don't like that have happened in the world. But I had to stew on that one a little bit because that one kind of bothered me, and it's like. So, and I'd like to know from the audience, basically, that's listening to this in time, does any of that commiserate with you guys? Because it's like, I really thought that I had just entered a different timeline.
You did.
But I didn't, it's that kind of stuff is still, I'm still digesting that. That happened about a week ago. And, so.
So what if it, because we've all heard time machine stories, but if everything runs concurrent, It'd be like opening a door and into another dimension.
Well, this is what I've come to find out, man. This is my studies only, okay? This is my belief system only. I'm not saying it's absolute, which it is not. Nothing's absolute. But what I explained is that from, let's say after we get our interview done here and everything, that from the time you walk out the front door here, every single relative scenario that can happen has to happen in order for you to have the freedom of choice that the the great creator provides for us, because it's like every single dimensional reality that can happen has to be there in order for you to have the free will to go in that direction.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
So when people talk about manifesting, you know, that's the reason, in my opinion only, that we have the freedom to manifest in the direction we so choose, because we have to visually see it in our mind's eye in order to go, okay, I want to stop this behavior. I'm going to turn a new leaf tomorrow. I'm going to quit smoking or whatever we're doing, or I'm going to change my job. And or you don't know that future job's out there, but you have to have the faith and the vision to go, okay, I'm really not liking this job. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, turn in my own notice, and come hell or high water, I'm going to find this job. And boom, you find it. Okay?
There's an old saying, faith is knowing if you must leap off a cliff, either a step will appear or you'll be taught how to fly.
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't that good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is good.
I like that one.
So, that's my thing. I just think that there is more out here in the realm of reality that we're existing in. And I mean, it might sound a little bit cold, and I'm not a cold person, but I don't get as upset as I used to when people pass away. Okay, because, I guess, I don't know. Here again, I'm going to ask you because you're a little older than I am. But I mean, does your resolve in the knowing get better as you get older?
I think so. My whole view of death is a lot different because I've worked in hospice, and the first person I ever took care of was my adopted father.
Okay.
And I was there when he died.
Mm-hmm.
That transition is just as exciting to watch, in my mind, as it is to watch a new life coming.
I agree.
It's the same thing in a way. People transition differently.
Okay. Now, since you've experienced it, and I have experienced death, but not to your degree. But I wasn't in the medical field where I watched it happen. But what do you think? Where do you think we go from here? Where do you think? And you tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine. What do you think?
I think different people go different places.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe in heaven? Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pull your mic up just a little bit.
Absolutely, I believe in heaven.
Okay.
I've seen people who have tremendous faith, and you can see the peace on their faces when they go.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it in the room. People who don't have that peace, and I'm not sure if it's faith or something else, but if they don't have that, if they're still angry, that's a struggle. So I've seen both sides of the physicality of it.
You mean struggle to pass on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To allow themselves to go.
Right. A lot of people are angry. I've
Yeah.
seen that many times.
Okay.
I remember years ago, my goodness, probably 40 some odd years ago. There was one of my friends, her grandmother was dying. And I was taking a class, in a very spiritual oriented metaphysics, quantum physics kind of class. So they wanted us to be there when Maud died. And we weren't to communicate with each other. We were just to experience the whole thing. Afterwards, we were asked to write it all down. We all saw the same thing. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, it was a line. It was a line of, like, they kind of looked like what I would imagine angels look like, but there was a line of them, and they were passing her spirit up that line, and that was fascinating. I watched a man when I was working the hospice. He had bone cancer, which is horrible.
Right.
Major league drugs. And it was hard to keep up with it because he had to have so much. Anyway, that's a long story. He'd been basically unconscious and drugged, if you will, for about a week. One day he just woke up and he started talking. Put the head of his bed up, and he talked to us. He told us that he'd been sitting outside in a cafe talking to somebody, and they were having a great conversation, but the man had to go. So he was coming back to tell us that he was going with this guy. And they had to climb those stairs up over there, and there was a door at the top of those stairs, and they were going to go through that door. Shortly after that, back into the pain meds and into that semi-conscious state. We watched his feet. They were moving. You could almost see that he was walking upstairs, and then they stopped. And that was the end of it. He passed away.
Wow.
Right. There've been, so working in that field, boy, it was very enlightening. It changed my whole view of life and death.
Why do you think we experience life here? What do you think it's about?
Well, isn't that just the question of the universe?
I'm a great questioner.
I don't know. I've often wondered myself.
Okay.
Because, you know.
Well, I'll tell you mine, if that's okay.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm a little slow learner, okay? I admit it. Just about everything in my life I've been kind of slow at. But once I get there, I got it, you know. It's kind of...
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
All right. I believe that we come to this three-dimensional relative world totally oblivious to anything. You know, as a child, as a baby. I've talked about this before. And we come in here with a blank slate of forgetfulness from where we come from, okay? And I think that's important because it gives us the chance to figure out who we choose to be, everything to me is about choice. And what I think is the great creator of the universe, aka God, I believe that we come from what I call it the world of the absolute, where we have it's absolute light, it's absolute love, it's absolutely no pain, it's absolute knowledge. And I think we come here with a clean blank slate to rediscover and to remember who and what we really are. And we are given so many obstacles in this life an obstacle you can either overcome it or you can allow it to destroy you. You can become an alcoholic. You can become a drug addict. You can go, woe is me. I'm a victim of everything that has happened and occurred, and it's not my fault. Okay. I've known people like that, and it's exceptionally sad.
Yeah.
Or you kind of pull yourself up from the bootstraps and you go, okay, and this has happened to me. Okay, this is the reason I am who I am is that I came from a place where I really did not like, and I'm talking about a dysfunctional family structure. I call it poverty, a huge lack of a lot of things that are just necessary in life, like eating and clothing and blah, blah, blah. So after I kind of I had to, which was hard, to throw all that to the wind, aka your supposed family, and start all over again and relearn, reteach yourself a lot of things in life about how to conduct yourself. And I'm big on integrity and honesty. And
Right.
I'm not perfect. I've done a lot. I mean, my worst times were in my early 20s because I was still so hurt and dysfunctional myself as far as relationships and understanding and taking care of myself, taking care of other people, and how to treat people. And, you know, I had to go through so much tragedy and ugliness to figure out this just does not feel good. Stop it. Just stop it. Start again. Redefine yourself. Redefine your pathway, which I believe that everybody can do no matter how old you are, you know.
But that's very true.
Really.
Yes, it
And
is.
I think we're here to rediscover how wonderful and how grand we can be.
It's a work in progress.
And I think it's also extremely good to aid others, not give people everything, but to aid others and reinforce. I think I talked to you about this the other day. I said, you know, I think, you know, and you come from the world of protests and, you know, a lot of political drama, and it's still going on today.
It's worse
But back
today
in
than
the-
it ever
yeah,
was.
Is that how do you change the world? Okay? And everybody goes to music, they go to religion, they go to political venues, and okay, that's great. I love music. Religion's okay if it's done the right way, and then political situations, I don't know about that. But anyway, I personally believe that I have learned more from people from example of how to treat others, how to be good to others, and to just give it freely as a kindness. Because you have to ask, what does I ask myself is like, what am I? What am I? Am I just a thief? Am I just a selfish piece of crap that just uses people and tries to get every single ounce of dollar I can out of everybody? Or can I provide a good service? Can I try to enlighten someone? Can I try to be great? Can I try to be a good example setter for others and my employees and my, you know, coterie of people that I know in society? Even though I have this weird subject matter I like to touch on once a week, you know, that's what I think is probably the best thing that I can do. And I'm still not sure, but that's kind of you ask your heart what it is, you know. But I think that here again, we come here to re-answer the question again, is to rediscover who and what we really are.
There's a yes, I grew up in the era of protests, but that was back in the 60s
Sure.
and 70s. And there were riots in my high school.
Wow,
Yeah, that was an experience.
I bet.
It was an upper crust kind of school,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought kids in that were not upper crust
Mm-hmm.
and expected it to go smoothly.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
I've heard of that. I have actually heard of that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, they made a lot of mistakes,
we all do.
and I think they're still making a lot of mistakes.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my goodness,
And
don't
I-
even
and-
get me
and-
started.
And I think that you know, I get aggravated with human beings because we just forget about what has happened in the past. I do believe that history is very important, and there's
It's 1,000% important.
Yeah, because
that's what
the-
shapes everything.
and yet you still have people that will not. I love books. Okay, now everything's on the damn internet and all this stuff, and it's just a change of world. But it doesn't matter if it's internet or books, as long, well, internet's more biased.
That's
or
why
whatever.
God made Kindles.
Exactly. But, you know, you can learn. I mean, but most people don't choose to learn. And a lot of people don't choose to change.
I'll give you something.
Sure.
When my son was growing up, one of the things that I insisted on was that we would sit down for supper. Called it dinner out there.
Gotcha.
But we would sit down, and this was easy for him. He was in school. But we had no TV, no music, nothing, just conversation and good food. Well, hopefully.
Sure. I bet it was good.
You had to come up with one thing that you'd learned during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's in school. It's easy,
Right.
sort of. I was trying to get him to pay attention more, maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you couldn't come up with one thing that you learned, you had to come up with 3 things that made you smile.
Okay.
And
That's pretty nice.
it was pretty cool. I still do that.
Good.
You know, I do it with my current clients. I'll ask them, you know, what wonderful thing did you do today?
You talked about your mom earlier.
Mhm.
Why don't you tell me the story about your mom?
I was adopted. So, you know, there's this phrase in my head that says, well, she wasn't really your mom, but yes, she was. She was my mom.
Okay.
The last time I saw her, I had gone to see her, and it was Mother's Day. She was 80 couple. She had dementia/Alzheimer's. She seemed to know who I was. But the last time I saw my mother, she was sitting in the front room, if you will, of a facility that, and it was Mother's Day. They'd given them artificial roses, and she was trying to eat it.
Yeah.
It broke my heart because
Yeah.
I didn't want to go in the first place. But so that was in May. No. Yeah, Mother's Day's in May, right?
Yeah. Second.
Yeah. So that was in May. In June, she told the staff that everybody had been to see her and she could die now. And of course, I'm talking to the nurses. She died the first week of August. I'd gone over to UVA. I was on my way back. I was just at the top of Afton Mountain, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, of course, I thought of Mom a lot, but at that point it was like almost overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
No place to pull over.
All right. Right.
But I could see her in the seat beside me.
Wow.
And I remember her saying, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I was supposed to go back to work. I didn't go. I went home. I walked in the door and the phone rang.
Hmm.
And she'd been gone about a half an hour, which is the right amount of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got it too, don't you? You got some.
Yeah, I do. My mother kind of smothered it a little bit.
Mhm.
She didn't want me to talk about a lot of things.
All right. Well, that was the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I grew. Well,
I remember in this when I started experiencing things. You know, you got to remember the '70s, even through the '80s, even through the '90s. The '90s started a little bit with this the ghost hunting thing on TV kind of thing.
oh yes.
And now it's a phenomenon. People are, you know, so many. I'm just one little tiny podcast amongst a lot of big timers out there, and it's good. It's okay.
This is great because everybody's voices need to be heard.
Well, I predicted that even though we've got listeners, believe it or not, I look at it not every day, but you know, South America, Canada, United States, Moscow, London, Perth, Australia,
Neat.
South America. I mean, it's pretty crazy so far. And I told others, I said, I have to do this thing for 2 years for it to really catch on a little bit, which is fine. But it kind of like, it clears my psyche a little bit just talking about this a little bit. Then I'm good. And then I get a chance to talk to individuals like you, because you are just a valuable piece of information, a valuable human being, and it's great to get you down on tape, because it's important, because you are a contributor now to others going, oh, okay, wow, I'm not the only one.
When you're told that what you didn't see is real, or that you're nuts for seeing it,
yes, my parents did not believe me,
and that's pretty normal.
and I gave up saying anything about it because I realized that I was alone on this journey.
And that's very common.
Yeah, and I realized that and everything. So
I think people. You said the ghost thing. Thank goodness for Ghostbusters. It broke it open.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
did.
you're right. I think it did create probably in the early 80s, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's
I
a little
can't
far
remember.
back.
I know,
I
me
don't
too.
remember a lot.
No, I'm pretty sure it was early 80s when that I think it kind of maybe kick-started a little something going on there. Or at least the interest in it. You look like movies like Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you look at some of the latter 70s horror stuff, I think probably opened up a little bit of an interest idea. I could go on a whole historical tangent about that. That's one thing I might do, about the interest in the paranormal. But
I think there's good and there's bad in that too. And I've been fortunate to just have some interesting but not negative encounters.
I agree. I know.
You know.
I totally agree with you on that part.
You know, when you hear footsteps going up a flight of stairs, and you know that, well, you think you know that you're alone in the house except for two children that are sleeping right next to you, but you're hearing steps go up a flight of stairs. What I didn't know at the time, because I hadn't been in Virginia very long, that third little click as they were walking, I didn't know what that was. Somebody had to tell me that was the saber.
Yeah, yeah.
That house was a yeah. There was there was a colonel that had died in that house.
Yeah, you know what? When you said saber, yeah, we have talked about this before on previous podcasts. Is that Virginia is a very historical area. A lot of Civil War history happened up and down the entire state. And if you guys out there are really interested in, I mean, I know you got Gettysburg, but, go start traveling down 81 because you will start seeing landmarks all the way down into Lexington, VMI and everything.
There are
There are a lot of ghost stories and a lot that I've heard and some I have not heard.
one of the pivotal battles was the Battle of Piedmont.
Mm.
And they were fighting over the railhead at Stanton.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And so there's some stories there. But I was told on that farm that's where somebody had passed away in that house.
No, sure.
Yeah. And there were famous people. They had a child. The family that was alive then had a child that they had to hide because they didn't want this little boy to be taken by the Northern Army.
Right, right.
So they would send him out at night and play up in the orchard on the hill, which is where I used to live.
Mm-hmm.
They built that house in the 30s. So we saw a lot of stuff in that house.
I bet you did.
The first time I kind of went, okay. Just something that was moved. It wasn't even, and my self-doubt set in because I'm thinking, well, maybe I did put it over there.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
do the same thing until it
When
happens.
I told you about the dog bowl. So we had an Australian Shepherd. and we had a narrow opening into the pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in to look for the dog's bowl. Well, the opening, what's that?
2.5 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go into this pantry. Went in there looking for the dog's bowl, couldn't find it. Kitchen, I mean, wasn't that big.
Mm-hmm.
Can't find it. It's one of those big silver bowls,
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah.
2-3 inches,
Right.
yeah, deep. Can't find it in the living room, can't find it in the wood stove room. It's not on the back porch, it's not on the front porch. So I holler at my husband, where's her bowl?
Right.
He doesn't know. He said, well, let me look. So he looked around, couldn't find it. We both walked into that pantry looking for this stupid dog bowl. So I don't see it. Do you see it? No, I don't see it. Turned around and that doggone thing was sitting right in the middle of the road. Freaked me right out.
You said in the middle of the road?
In the middle of the pathway out of the pantry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, sitting right there.
So
we would have had to trip over
So
it.
it disappeared, and
Then boom, it's
it's
there.
there.
You know,
That's a
thinking,
classic.
I thought I was losing my mind. You know, but I wasn't. It happened.
Well, listen, do you have anything you want to add?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
It's a real thing. Coke is, that's the way it should be. Coca-Cola, what the world wants to see. Oh, yeah, it's a real thing. Coca-Cola, that's the way it is. Fill a bottle of Coke, and the way it will stay. For the taste of your life, what the world wants today. Oh, yeah, it's a real thing. Coca-Cola is Coke.
Thank you, Miss Ann, for your contribution to our podcast. Like I said, this is J.J. Allen here, Ghost Stories with J.J. Allen, and I guess we're going to wrap it up for now. So you guys keep listening, and thank you very much for your downloads on the podcast. We do appreciate it, and if you want to check out the website, it is jjallenghoststories.com. All right, we'll see you in the next one.